It is 7 o'clock, so can I welcome everyone to the first meeting of the FES in 2024. Apologies, I think there's just Brian's and Andy's.
Yeah, Councillor Bell and Councillor Well.
Yeah. Are there any declarations of interest? No. Item 4, the minutes of the last meeting held on the 5th of December. Are there any comments about the meetings or any corrections that are needed? Or would someone like to either move or second them? There are no comments on the minutes, no. All those in favour of the minutes? Thank you. Item 5, public forum. There are no members of the public in attendance. Item 6, financial update. And as on previous occasions, we can take A, B and C together if you wish, or take them separately, whichever.
Has anyone got any comments or anything before we? You will notice actually on the bottom of the income and expenditure, so on the last page where it gives you all your totals, there is actually a minus £4,527. That is because that's not showing the last quarter precept payment. We did actually receive that not yesterday, the day before, but it's not reflected in these reports. So if no one's got any issues.
Is it seconded? All those in favour, the minutes? Thank you. Item 7, banking stroke investment opportunities.
Right, yeah, so this has obviously come about because of the issue we had with Skipton Building Society. Because we've now had to close that account. Delegated authority was given to me and Steve to investigate alternative accounts and different options. So we found 2 accounts that we are eligible for, which will help to improve the investment return that we're getting at the moment. So has anyone got any questions? Have you had a chance to read through the stuff? Basically, in summary, there's 2 different accounts. One is slightly riskier than the other. One is purely a savings account, but it's instant access. There's no minimum or maximum deposit. So it's same day access. The only thing with that is that it's online only. There's no physical branch. The other one is it's a money market fund. So it's basically it's not like just depositing your money with a normal bank. There is an element of risk. Although this particular account is designed with councils in mind, it is low volatility, low risk, because only the lowest volatile instruments are actually chosen, and they only choose the ones with the highest credit ratings for short term. It's only short term. I think the maximum that they'll invest for is I think it's 60 days. Yeah, so it's all short term, but low volatility investments basically, mainly term accounts with banks and building societies, but they do deposit with building societies in different countries as well. But it's all sterling deposits.
That's the public sector one.
That's that one.
That's the money will only be invested for 60 days.
It's no, they
So-
only
so-
choose the term deposits that are short term, up to 60 days maximum, but they'll put them in different term deposits, depending on where the best rates are.
But
So basically, they do your work for you.
yeah, those savings are sort of long view of the money's going to be put.
Yeah, I mean, obviously, yeah,
the
obviously they're investing large sums of money that all councils are putting in with them and able to get better returns. So then we get a better return on our money. That's how it works.
I think they do it at 60 days so that they'll have it all come in. The 60 days will come in due on different amounts of money within their system on different days, and they can review every 60 days. In theory, they'll be able to review all of the money they've got out in savings and move it around. All down, getting better, getting the best deal they can on day.
I think the reason why they do that is because they allow same day transactions. Obviously, if a lot of councils were to take the money out at the same time, it may leave them in a position where they have to come out of the term deposit before term, which obviously wouldn't be beneficial. So that's why they keep it to short-term investments, which are less risky in nature.
Any questions, any comments?
I have since learned, although there's no maximum minimum deposit with the Unity account, the minimum investment with the PSDF is 25,000.
Where you were suggesting splitting it with quite a way above that,
Yeah,
whichever way.
yeah, so it wouldn't matter.
That was the piece of paper I was looking for, but I'd carefully put it behind the pensions piece of paper.
It's the recommendations of that.
Yeah, no, that's what I was looking for. I think because I couldn't remember what the relative amounts of money, but to all intents and purposes, it's the same.
It's very similar, just slightly more with
Yeah, but I mean it's
than the other. Yeah.
and the other thing I was looking for is the long list of the people that are in it.
People that are in it.
So if we get in trouble, Bingley, Otley, Calderdale, Blackburn with Darwin are in the same. Could be in the same boat.
Burnley, Pengleborough Council.
Yeah, well, they're in trouble anyway because they haven't got any. But I think that's the way to. It's just a shame that I can't think of the right word, but we ended up with an account that we weren't entitled to.
Yeah.
So these are probably the best rates we're going to get anywhere. I do know that in the good old days when interest rates were quite a bit higher in the 80s, there were two gentlemen at Pendle Council in a little office that used to shift literally thousands and thousands of pounds every day, making mainly profits. I don't think they made losses in bonds and all sorts of government
Yes, yes.
bonds, council bonds. So I'm quite happy to move that we accept the recommendation. And put the 115,000 with Unity Trust. And the 150,000 in the CCLA. So I can't remember what all the CCLA stands for. And presumably the altering the financial regs is just taking account of that tidying.
It's a bit of both. The reserves and treasury management policy stated that we wouldn't invest in money market fund. But so I've made a slight change in that because that is quite restrictive. And then changed it to derivatives and collective investment schemes. But because it hasn't been reviewed anyway, this financial year, I did a full review of the policy. And there were certain items obviously that needed updating anyway. I have highlighted them all for you so you know exactly what's changed. Some of the reserves and the way we treat them, I have changed slightly. Obviously some of the reserves have gone. Mainly the blues contingency. And the CCTV earmark reserve has now disappeared because we've used it. Some of the, I'm trying to find the right page now. Where it says, this is it. So whether we intend to build up an increased amount or not. Staffing reserve, I've changed that to yes, and that we will build it up. If we do end up taking on extra services, then it ultimately is going to mean more staff. So that's the only reason why I changed that to a yes. The neighbourhood plan, I've put yes for this particular one because it's we utilize some of it anyway, and it's down at quite a low level. So I've said that we will try and increase that if we can. Bad debt provision, I've put to retain at 5% of income. So obviously, as the income increases, that the level of that reserve will increase as well.
Just on that, does that mean that's the sort of bad debt we have, or that's just
a provision that
just
we will
essential?
make. So
Yeah.
just to say that should 5% fail to pay, that if they do become bad debts, which is not that likely, but that we will have provision for it.
Presumably, the only things that we're going to have debts on are on lease payments or that type.
Yeah,
I mean, I can't think. I'm trying to think as I'm speaking.
it's things like
something
that,
else
rental income or room hire or
yeah, somebody. Yeah, but we're talking relative. Even though 5% is a relatively high figure, it's not in monetary terms. It can't be that
no,
much.
No. It won't be because at any one time we don't have that much outstanding. We do ask for payment to be made before an event. So if they haven't paid the stall fee, then they won't get. So it's, you know, we do ask, and room hire bookings, we ask that that's paid before the actual event as well. So there isn't.
Is that it with all comments?
Should I think of anything else?
I've got a couple of comments. One of them might be a pedantic one. how easy is it on either of the accounts to change a signatory? And I'm saying that in view of the hassle, for want of a better word, that I've had in getting us to where we are today, i.e. by closing the other one. And does it seem fairly, I'm asking, you know, Gina and Steve really, does it seem fairly simple to change a signatory? Because the type of organisation where we are, you not only could at any given point in time have a member of staff leaving, is you could have several councillors changing at the same time, i.e. every 4 years when there are elections. And it doesn't want to be too onerous and difficult, as we've found already, to change signatories.
Well, both of these accounts have councils in mind and council
Yeah.
structure. Unity Bank, I know it's just a case of filling a form out. And I think it's something similar with
Yeah.
PSDF as well, because they do deal with a lot of local government services and councils.
I would have thought that with them dealing basically, you know, primarily with councils, they'll be used to things like this happening, so they'll have something in place for it. Whereas where it was before, they didn't deal with councils because that was the one reason why we shouldn't have been having an account there anyway, because councils aren't allowed to.
Although it
So,
didn't officially say that in the
no,
documentation,
no.
which is why we filled the application out. Really, they shouldn't otherwise have the account.
Well,
But yeah, so are we happy with the changes in the reserves and treasury management?
can we make the decision to do it, or does it need to go to full council? And why I'm asking, does it need to go to full council? In order to do this, we have to change the policy. And we can make a suggestion about a policy change to full council, but we can't change the policy.
I think we can make the decision with the accounts,
Yes,
because that's delegated authority from full council.
yes,
However, the policy will actually need to go to full council.
yes. So what I think is, we've got to make a recommendation to full council to change the policy. We can make the decision tonight which two banks to go with and the split on the money. But I don't think you can open the accounts until after we've had the full council meeting and they've verified the alteration to the policy.
What my intention was to do was to download both application forms, find out exactly what we need.
Yeah.
Fill in the details,
Fill
and
in
obviously
and
get
get
them
ready.
signed
Yeah.
at full council. So what? Oh,
Well, can I see all those in favour? Thank you. Item 8, pension contributions.
yes, this is something that we've never really come across before. Or we haven't noticed before, should I say. So given that the LGA seems to take months and months to decide the pay deals, or it's the unions and it goes back and forth, it generally means that it's October, November time before they actually make the decisions and it's actually released officially. Because of that, there's a lot of back pay that goes with it, because they back pay to the 1st of April. And because of that, all the back pay in that 1 month, means that it actually pushes some people over the limit for pension contributions, which basically means that the pension contribution is capped at a certain level. So rather than getting 3% of contributions, we're getting 2.3% or whatever it might be. The reason for that is because the council uses qualifying earnings to work out pension contributions, which is basically designed as a slice of the salary. It has a lower limit and an upper limit. Anything in between those limits is classed as qualifying earnings. Anything outside of it is not. Now, whereas income tax works in a certain way that you can pay more 1 month, but by the end of the year it works itself out, and you'll either get a rebate or a pension doesn't work that way. So if you go over the limit in a month, you just go over it, it's capped, and that's it. It doesn't readjust itself at the end of the year. So effectively you lose out on that contribution.
I read this a couple of times, went scratching my head. So is it, am I understanding it right then? So that if it flips to that upper level in October at 2 point whatever, it then stays at that for the rest of that financial year?
No, it's just it's classed as the levels are 6,240 a year, and the higher is 50,270. But the monthly is between 520 is the lower limit, and then 4,189. So if that month your gross salary is more than the 4,189, it will cap it, they'll stop it there. So your contributions are just worked out on the 4,189, not what your actual gross salary is. If you're higher than that, it'll always be capped at that.
Right, so the next month it goes back to,
The next month, the next month it's likely that you don't go over that limit.
yeah.
Because there's no back pay,
so
there's
it
no-
goes back to whatever the
Yeah,
limit
so
is.
you would
Right.
get the full contribution in that case. The reason why I've said just to do an adjustment for this year is because obviously from the beginning of the year, everyone's salary's been worked out on the qualifying earnings. So the first £520 of their wage hasn't been pensionable, it's not qualified. But the rest has. So if we were going to change it this year, we'd have a lot of calculations to do. So what I'm proposing is that we just look at where it's been capped and where there's been an upper limit. Pretend that upper limit wasn't there and just do a manual adjustment, which tax assessors said they can do. For the times that it's gone over, and then from the 1st of April next year to then change it to total earnings for everybody. But that will obviously mean that it will cost the council more in contributions, because that first 520 will be pension, will qualify then for pensionable contributions, whereas it doesn't with qualifying earnings.
Yeah, but we're not talking big numbers.
No.
But it just makes it neater and
Yeah, it just means that if we're going to have a similar situation every year, we don't have to be manually adjusting.
yeah.
Yeah, so it just means
So
it's fair for everybody.
It makes it that little bit fairer, albeit it's only, I don't mean penny numbers, but we're talking hundreds of pounds rather than thousands.
Thousands, yes.
So it's just easier if we set it, then it doesn't make any difference then. It doesn't,
No, then it's just
we're not
anything.
fapping about, when I say we, when it's you. Well,
It just means that all income, it says apart from any dividends or anything, but obviously we don't have that, would be, would qualify for pension contribution.
The way it works out basically, if government office and unions, etc., have got the finger out last March and got the thing settled before 1st of April, they would have got pension rights on all of the money every month, as it is with it coming as a great big lump sum. They've missed out, haven't they? That's basically what's happened.
Well, if you actually look out of, we can't look out of this window because it's got curtains drawn. And if it wasn't dark, probably see the pigs flying over Tum Hills. For them getting the finger out and sorting it by then, because I don't think it ever is.
This is bringing us back level with everybody else then.
It just means that it's fair to
We're
all members
on
of-
the playing field.
to all members of staff, basically, rather. Yeah.
Yeah. Basically, in a nutshell, Patricia, to explain it very simply, each month they've had the salary from April. They have been shortchanged and not got as much as they should have done. And then they've got it all together in one big lump sum and gone over the limit where they can have pension rights on it. And they've lost out, basically. And I can only see two ways of changing it. One is either to do what Steve and Gina are suggesting, which is to take the thing totally away and use the total earnings. Or, and I don't know if we can do that because I don't know whether government office sets the figure or not, or we can, is on the qualifying earnings one will be to increase the upper limit. And I don't know if that's set in stone or whether it can be increased.
It is set by the
Yeah.
government. Exactly.
So there's only the one option.
Yeah.
Well, it's not an employee's fault that it's happened, is it? You know, and if they'd have got it when they should have done, it'd have cost the same anyway.
Yeah. But obviously the manual adjustment means that basically everyone's got the same this time. Changing it though to total earnings does mean that next year you will pay slightly more. Given that that first 520 will now be pensionable where it wasn't before. But that's the only difference. £16 a month. Yeah.
It's only about £2,000 per whole year, isn't it?
It's no, I worked it out, did I? I think it's more than that.
It can't be much.
6,240
Hmm.
is because it's per month per employee. For
Yeah.
9 employees.
Yeah.
That's how it
Yeah.
works out.
Well,
Oh, no, sorry, that was the lower limit. No, it's £1,684.80. That's what I worked it out.
And this problem arises with the wage negotiations that have come last year, is it? This is the culmination of that. This is what's caused
Yeah,
the problem. And this, so if say next year we end up in a similar place, would that deal with?
it will stop that from,
We won't
yeah,
have this,
it wouldn't make a difference.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
it's seconded, yeah. Those in favour? Thank you. Item 9. 2024-25 budget final draft.
So I did make a slight change in the budget in that I put those increased pension contributions in. Just to see, obviously, what, given that if you approved it, that's the difference it would make to the budget. But I have taken some smaller things out, just to bring it to the 25% that was agreed at full council.
Yeah, because at the last full council, we agreed what the preset was going to be, which is our income. So the bit we've got to agree and balance with it is the expenses, because it's got to be a balanced budget. So basically, it's just agreeing the budget headings, which brings the balance of both sides of the equation equal.
So basically what I did was I took 4% off all the codes that I think are more discretionary than others, i.e. things like what we spend on stationery, postage, that kind of thing. Training budgets, training, repairs, maintenance. So things like that, I basically did, I went through all, put a formula in and basically took, well, I took 1%, then 2%, then 3%, just to see what difference it made on the budget. So I settled at 4%. I then took a bit extra off training and a little bit extra off CCTV new equipment. And I think that was basically all that I altered. But that brought it to the 25%. There was a slight change as well, again, in the figure for the base rate, which meant that obviously we can increase it slightly. We get more for his money basically, so we can increase it slightly less than we thought.
Is there any comment?
Just, I think the comments were made at the last meeting and the last full council meeting. The system is bonkers, but it's the only system we've got. So we've got to, there is no other way that we can substantially increase our incomings rather than outgoings. The system hasn't been updated since the 1990s. That, you know, the values that it's based. I say it's not been up. Obviously, new building has, but in our area particularly, we've got the majority of band A, Bs, and Cs. So although everything's worked out on a band D, there will be very few people in Pendle that pay that. Sorry, in Colne that pay, well, and in Pendle, come to think of it. Other than people in perhaps the more new areas of new build. So people up Notts Drive and that area will be paying, but even they've been up a while now, some of them. People off Red Lane will be paying the current rate near enough, as will I forgot what it's called, back of Harrison Drive. Oh, forgot what the name.
I'm not sure.
In Smartway.
I'm not sure what they abandoned. I did look and I forgot.
But they will be banded at the current value band. But you know, say the system we've got is the system we're stuck with. So I was going to say happy. Happy's not the right word, but I will move the recommendation.
I will say that obviously I've looked at reducing it, but I am reluctant to reduce it any further, given the talk of taking extra services on in the future, and also for the fact that we do need to build our reserves up because we have used them for the past 2 years and now they need replenishing.
I'd fully agree with what the town clerk has just said. Title for today. The chances are we're going to get stuff chucked our way, whether we like it or not, and it, you know, it may very well be a case of if we don't look at taking things on, they may just cease to be. Hopefully anything in that way will be towards the end of 24-25 financial year. And by then anyway, there may be a change in government and the magic money tree may appear and pound notes will fall off it.
Right. Mathematics is not. I will second the councillors
There is one thing I just want to be clear of, though, with on the line in the budget that's for the CCTV, you will notice there's a very big drop between this year and next year. But that is only basically because the current year has the budgeting for all the refurbishment for all the CCTV stuff.
Yeah.
And it is also, I think, likely that we will not finish the refurbishment on the CCTV stuff because it's only 2 months away. But this does assume that what is left of that 80,000, which is in the budget for the CCTV, will slide over into next year and top next year's budget up to pay for the capital work that we're doing now. So it's on the assumption that that money doesn't become a surplus and go into reserves. It is there to carry on the CCTV work into next year.
Either that, or Stephen Gina or King George V digging a trench.
Yeah. Or they shimmy up a pole with a pair of binoculars
Well, yeah,
for the CCTV. Yeah. So can we see all those in favour? That's hopefully the budget sorted. Item 10, town hall maintenance.
Well, you probably will notice that the town hall clock is currently working. We did have a problem with it. He did come and fix it and then he went off again. But he had to come back. But at the moment, which would
you even say it'd forgotten to fix it. So it worked for a while, then stopped.
it worked for he'd forgotten to tighten something up properly. No, well, no, he said not. It's no, yes. Yes, no, it was.
They got to put elastic band on it.
It took a penny away.
Well, yeah.
The only other thing is we are currently waiting for another quote for the boilers to replace the boilers. And we got one quote for Christmas, which was around the 40,000 mark. We then got another quote using the same spec. However, we were informed that it wasn't that option probably work, and that we'd have to look at putting different boilers in because they wouldn't be compatible with the kind of control that we needed. And anyway, the next quote came in at but it's more 80,000, so that was double the price. So I'm now waiting for another quote so that we can see what the options are. But yeah, the idea was not to completely renew the system, obviously, because that would be hundreds of thousands. But just to actually replace the boilers and replace the control panel, and have it so that we can have a temperature thing on it as well.
I understand.
That's it.
Well, at some point, it does want something.
That, yeah.
At some point, it does want something doing with the pipework, which can be something to do later because there is too much volume of water to heat up in all that pipe.
Yeah.
There's hundreds of gallons of it
Yeah.
with size pipes.
But when you're looking at 70-year-old, pipe work there. I think it's. Got 100-year pipe work.
Is this work to the boilers, is it? Very urgent.
It's not urgent because they are working. But obviously they're not very efficient as they are. But then again, the pipe work makes it inefficient. Basically being that the amount of heat we lose before it even gets to the radiators is quite a lot.
But if you had a boiler or working on a sort of A++, it'd be better than something working, it's probably on a wire Z, isn't it? The one we've got.
The first quote that we got, they actually advised to get 2 boilers, 2 higher performance ones. But it was thought by the second person that wouldn't really work. It wouldn't actually drain.
There's
So
3
again, that-
now, isn't there?
Yeah, 3 now.
All we can do, Chair, is wait until we get a third,
A third quote, and then we can
and
have a look.
see, hope that should, depending on what that comes in as, that may give us a steer that the second quote is what it's going to cost, or the first one.
Just going back to what you've said before. The first quote we got. You're saying someone has said that system, am I right, won't work?
Well, they don't think that it would. They think it would cost more than they've said because in order to fluid properly, the more will be needed. So I'm not that technical boilers. I don't really understand. These people who are living.
I mean,
they
obviously,
know what to
with money wise, we've got to go for the best deal we can get, but we also need a deal that's going to work.
Yeah.
You know,
Perhaps we have a look round to see if there's an independent heating consultant or something that can come and say, you have an XYZ rated boiler ×3 or a.
didn't someone who I think works in Blackburn, lives in Colne, once come and have a look at it? Without giving any names away because we're out live, aren't we?
Somebody had come to look to see if we would qualify for the carbon grant or whatever it was.
Was that someone from Capita?
Yes.
Yes.
And we were told that it wouldn't work with. They couldn't do it without our existing system, basically.
Right.
Too old and inefficient.
Yeah.
I think was the consensus.
I mean, that's the only reservation with what the one that seems to be the cheaper one up to now is that there's a bit of some sort of a doubt as to whether it may or may not work. I don't know.
Is it good enough?
I mean, what we'll probably intend, well, once we get the third quote, what I'll do is I'll go back to the person saying, we wondered if this would make a difference or will it work?
Yeah.
Because of this or not, depending on what we're told by others, and see how much that changes the quote. If they,
One section looking at a system that's compatible with its own system now, and it's still going to be compatible. We've got to start replacing more of the system. I've done it every day.
exactly, we need it
Yeah.
to be future proof, basically, so that when we do intend changing the pipes, etc., that it will still work.
I mean, parts going round under floors, some of them are 2 inch, some of them are 3 inch diameter. where they come up, they're about 1.5 inch into radiators. I mean, there's no reason why it can't be sort of 3/4 inch to 20 mil pipe like you have at all. And it'd hold a lot less water. Because when it cracks up at morning, it's all that water to warm up before it can do anything. So, you know, at today's gas prices, it's probably cost tens of pounds to warm water up before it even starts warming radiators up.
It's not gonna make it, it's in the one
But
level.
you've got eight radiators, it's true.
Mm.
So you think, take £10, just read that one there next to your chair. You've got 80 quid, and that's just for the first 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And that's just read this route. How many radiators have got throughout the, but, you know, plus of course, all the, what, as you say, all the other, on the floor behind it.
But there's so much.
You're looking at something like 600 quid in the first 10 minutes for that, just for the building.
See, as it stands now, we can't even put radiator stats on. Well, we can, but it won't do any good because radiator stat will stop radiator warming up, but all pipework circulating all the way around buildings still red hot.
Yeah.
So you can't really control it.
Yeah.
Well, you can, but it'd mean splitting it into zones and you could have your thermostats on your pumps and cut certain zones out when temperature went up. But it's a big job.
See, if you want a good system, then let's
Yeah.
be controlling all the separate zones, I know.
Yeah, what we need is a boiler system, I think, that will run the existing pipework we've got until such time as we're able to change pipework and it still wants to be compatible with whatever we put in then, doesn't it? And that might be where that guy's coming from, saying he don't think it'd work with what we eventually want. I don't know.
I mean, you can still get the modern radio, there's a art decorative like that, and yet still are efficient at modern levels. Because it's still there to get the look. Won't be as big as, you know, what that was input.
All three that are tendering have been in and had a look at.
Oh, yeah.
Also, so we've got to also consider carbon, our carbon footprint at the same time.
Yeah, we have. We've also got to consider that in June, our gas contract runs out.
Yeah.
And it's bound to go up on what it were because compared to today's prices, what we have the contract at from years ago is probably silly prices, isn't it, in comparison to it. So it's going to go up anyway. So whatever saving we can make on the actual gas we burn, you can knock off against some of the cost of the upgraded boilers, can't you?
Yeah.
Now, I would assume that it would cost less to get two larger boilers rather than three that at the same time we've got. I don't know.
Well,
I
that's
would
what
have
we don't
thought
know.
so. Because it's a bit like having a fridge freezer at home, isn't it? It's cheaper to run one big one than run two smaller ones.
So all we can do at the moment
It's
is
wait for all the
wait for that
quote
money
made,
to come in and then
and then
we can look at all the options.
We also have had a leak in the corner office. In an office floor. It has actually just come in, so halfway down the wall. I think it's possibly. So. Neighbours.
straight across there.
This off, yeah, no,
Is it this side? No, this side.
Is it?
Looks like. It's gonna get the drawn out.
Right. Let it down.
well, it's rained that much,
Well, yeah,
so
exactly.
if
Yeah.
it was going to rain in, it was going to, you know, we're thankful that
That much water lands on that road. There's one thing obvious with the gutters now, the water's getting away because the way it rained in the last couple of weeks, you know, occasionally it's really come down. It would have been coming over and coming in, wouldn't it?
oh yeah,
So it's certainly getting away out at gutters now.
The last one was, wet, from that, wasn't it?
That was-
Is there anything else on down hall maintenance?
Not that I can think of now, I think that's it.
Don't slam the door on the way out,
No.
just in case.
Item 11. Items for a future month's agenda. I don't know, I can't think of anything, can you? Other than usual stuff that's on every month. Although every year we do end up with several policies being reviewed at the annual council in May. So I suppose they will need to be coming to FES before then, won't they?
You will have the risk registers. I know you all love them.
Yeah.
But they will be February, March. Yeah.
Well, some of the policies that get reviewed annually will have to come in March. And then they're ready for going to full council then, aren't they?
Might be worth looking at them all and seeing whether it's worth staggering them a bit,
Yeah.
so they don't all come at
Well, we've got February and March, haven't we? So
Yeah.
some in one.
I think one thing we need to do with them, or someone needs to do with them, all the policies, all the lot of them, is if you look at, most of them are online. And if you look at them, it says should be, reviewed annually or whatever, or it'll say at bottom when it's next due for renew. And some of them dates have expired. And I think it's a bit naughty of us to have policies that where the review date has expired.
Yeah.
We should have either reviewed it or done something with it. And I think it's a bit naughty of us not to have either reviewed it or updated date on it. If it doesn't need any changes, that's fine, isn't it?
But they need to change the dates.
It just needs,
Yeah.
there were no review necessary, so you say it runs out in another year, doesn't it?
it is a piece of paper at the, not a piece of paper, but a chart at the front. Annual review, reviewed, no changes.
But I can't remember which one it is, but the one I was looking at, one in the last couple of weeks, over Christmas holidays anyway, and it said something like to be reviewed annually, last review 2019. Now, if something went wrong on that, like things can go wrong, it's a policy thing, and your policy's out of date, I think you could be in trouble. So I think we need to look at dates when they all run out.
Yeah.
But I agree, they don't all want to, even the annual ones don't all need to run out in May. They could be staggered throughout the year, couldn't they?
Yeah.
Rather than all coming at once.
I know that delegated authority was given to officers to review the policies if there were no changes, just to update the dates,
Yeah.
change them, and only bring them to committee when changes have been made. Yeah.
Then it just wants either, I don't know if it's up front sheet, at back sheet, it just wants that one sheet changing, doesn't it? I think that's all it needs. Other than that, I've nothing that needs to come back a second thing of, but I've no doubt when we get home, something will have happened and there's something will need putting on an agenda, won't it? So I don't think there's anything else. So the date and the time of the next meeting is on the 6th of February. Might be coming a bit warmer by then as well,
Maybe.
or snowing. So can I close the meeting? And we're in front, not even an hour.